Hello everybody. So far we've talked a little bit about this flag. We certainly pledged to it and we looked at it when we were doing the Star-Spangled Banner. There are a couple of things that would be good to know about the flag, especially how should we treat it. So let's take this down and let's give you a few examples. You're always supposed to bring the flag down with dignity, and the reason is that we try to treat the flag as though it were just like one of us, a living being. That's the whole idea behind all the little rules and things that we've tried to figure out about the flag. Treat it like a living person, the one that you respect most. Who are some of the people that you respect in your life? Your parents? Grandparents? People such as that. So give the flag the respect that you would a real person. Let's talk about some specific things. Would you take this and drag this through the dirt? Would you drag your parents through the dirt? No. Would you hang them up by their heels instead of by their head? No, you wouldn't do that either. So keep that one little thought in mind, and it'll guide you with everything that you do with the flag. And that is to treat this flag just like it was a living being that you have a great deal of respect for. There's all sorts of other little ramifications of that, which means all sorts of other little guidelines. But the most important one is to treat this like this is the most respected friend you have, a living person. So we'll put this back up and we'll get going.
All right, we're going to talk more about the flag. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. How about a hand for these two gentlemen that took all the time to talk to you this morning? Thank you, gentlemen. Yesterday, you talked about some of the symbols that were important to the colonists and what the meanings of those symbols were. And those symbols translated into flags in many cases, as you learned yesterday as well. And right now today, we have a flag with another symbol on it. And that's this one here. What's the symbol that's in the center of this? That's the pine tree. Why was the pine tree an important symbol? Well, I'll tell you why. Because it was everywhere. So it kind of represented certainly the northern and the southern colonies as well. But there's one other thing. The king at one point said that all the best pine trees belonged to him. You know why? Because he used them for the masts of his warships. So imagine somebody coming in and saying, all the best trees belong to me. Whether they're on your property or somebody else's, they belong to me. So this was another symbol of what the colonists stood for, and it represented some of the kinds of rules that the King George imposed on the colonies that were not tolerated. This particular flag was a flag that George Washington designed, and he used it on the 6 ships that he built and chartered to go out and raid the British ships before the Revolution, and during the first part of the Revolution. So this flag was on George Washington's ships. You didn't know he had some Navy as well as Army, did you? The words at the top, "An appeal to heaven," he put up there because he said when all else fails, we have one resource, an appeal to heaven. So these are symbols and words that are important, and they were used in specific instances to actually bring people together and help them all have a common understanding of what they were doing. Are there any questions about this flag? Yes, sir.
Why a pine tree?
Well, a pine tree was a very, very common thing, and so everybody knew what it was. So that's one of the reasons they used the pine tree.
Now, we have a friend up here, a friendly patriot, who's our symbols and flag guy. He's going to come up and, what are you going to talk about?
We're going to talk about some more symbols and flags. Anybody have some symbols? No, this is all right. We've got a tippy. Let's talk about this particular flag. There's another one of our symbols. Remember what we talked about the first day? The snake? Where did we see that before? What flag have we seen that on? Go ahead. We've seen it also on the Gadsden flag, and then we also saw it as one of the very first cartoons that was ever published in the United States, and that was a cartoon that Ben Franklin did, didn't he? The Join or Die, where you had the rattlesnake that was all cut up into pieces and have to get together and to live. Well, this one is also very interesting because it tells you about how little we know about some of the history back then. there is a big dispute about when this type of flag with 13 stripes and a star on it ever came to be. And so there's theories that it started out as just as a picture in the background of a painting. There are theories that it was actually flown on some of the early Navy ships. But the bottom line of the whole thing is this started to get revived in the late 1700s and became a more popular symbol. And then in 1992, the Secretary of the U.S. Navy said that this flag was going to be flown on the stern of the oldest Navy ship that's currently in commission. So this was a flag that was passed from ship to ship starting in the 1990s in the United States Navy. And then when we declared a war on terror in the 2000s, we decided that every U.S. Navy ship was going to fly this on the stern. So this flag is now flown on the stern of every single Navy ship. So it went from obscure history to something that we now have on every U.S. Navy ship. History is interesting.